For almost a decade on my TV show Interview with Ed, I've been interviewing extra-dimensional beings and consciousnesses from a number of different realms. Many of my questions have been answered, but with every answer comes more questions. Join me on my ongoing quest to find out, who are we? Why are we here? And where are we going? Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, or wherever you're at. Today's guest, we have Louise Kay. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Reuben.
Good to see you again.
You too.
We were kind of getting we had 2 minutes to catch up, which is no way to get properly caught up. So it's been like 3 years, I think, pre-COVID, since we saw each other in person in Blackburn.
In my hometown.
That was cool. That was a fun adventure.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to get caught up, like what's been happening. We haven't really talked other than a couple of casual conversations. I remember during COVID, we were kind of checking in. You were in India with Karen, or not with Karen, but like at the same time, right?
At the same place also, yeah.
Oh, were you at the actual same place? Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us your adventures since the last time we spoke after we last saw each other in England. What's been going on?
Yeah, so I don't remember what month that was, but I guess after that I went to India again pretty soon after that.
It was fall 2019.
Okay.
It was just before, a few months before the whole COVID thing.
Okay. It's always a little bit challenging for me to remember exactly where I was at what time, because as you know, me and Gilad, we're living this nomadic lifestyle, so we're always on the move.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, we go to this place in India. It's called Rishikesh, almost every year, and it's a very special place. And I actually experienced a kind of huge opening when I was there. So it's really sacred for me, and it's right on the river Ganges. So it's a very special energy. And we went there, and we were there when COVID hit. So it was pretty chaotic. Like nobody really knew what was going to happen, and there was this kind of air of uncertainty around. And so they started sending these rescue planes from Europe, and I got on one of these rescue planes.
Rescue plane?
To get all the foreigners out.
Oh, wow.
Because they stopped running the regular planes. I went to Amsterdam, and I hung out there for a bit, and then Gilad joined me later, and from then onwards we kind of
was Gilad with you in?
Yeah, and he got stuck there because he couldn't get on one of these planes because they were for EU citizens only. So he had a really interesting time being there during COVID.
Karen had mentioned that like the streets, like there's a lot of animals in the streets and they weren't getting fed. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, well, cows are considered a sacred, holy animal to Hindus. So when you go to India, you see them walking all over the street, like in the road with the cars. It's pretty funny. And of course, they have a lot of street animals like street dogs. That place, Rishikesh, where we were, a lot of Westerners go there. So they really try to take care of the animals. And there's a lot of kind of little charities that people have just started where they're collecting food for the animals and handing that out. It's really nice. But even, there were people without food. And there were people like making rice and dal and just handing it out. It was really beautiful, actually, to see people come together and try to help each other in that time of crisis, because you don't know which way that's going to go. People can go into panic mode and turn on each other and take the attitude, I'm going to get what I can for me.
Yeah.
But what I saw a lot of during COVID is people really trying to help each other, which is very beautiful to see that side of humanity when there's a crisis and we stick together and help each other out.
Right. Kieran even said there was like monkeys that came in the town or something, like scared the living daylights out of her.
Monkeys are always there.
Did you experience the monkeys?
Yeah. They're crazy because there's so many tourists there that the tourists throw their food waste all around. And the monkeys there, they've become sugar addicts. You see them like drinking bottles of Coca-Cola and ice lollies. So they can get really aggressive. I was walking down the street carrying a huge mistake. Never in India where there's monkeys walk down the street holding bananas.
Oh.
They just were like circling me. Wow. Yeah, I've had them snatch food out of my hands a few times. Once I went in my room and there was a monkey in there going through my little toiletry bag. Like,
okay. Wow. So yeah, to walk into that might be a little scary, I guess.
Yeah.
And where are you now? Right now?
Right now I'm in Germany.
You're in Germany. Okay.
Yeah.
So during the COVID months, I'm assuming you continue to do your work, and then tell us that how is your work evolved right now, especially during the COVID months? I'm sure you had to make some shifts. What's happening? How has it evolved? And how do you do your work now?
Yeah, well, COVID actually is what initiated me starting doing online group meetings because that was the only option. So it actually turned out really great because it meant that people all over the world found out about what I'm sharing, and it's really grown because of that. So I was really happy and grateful in that respect. And I started doing weekly online meetings and then online retreats. And last summer was the first time that I was able to do an in-person retreat. And the whole time during COVID, we were kind of traveling to countries where there was not much COVID, where it was dipped. It was like peaking and dipping. So we were kind of following it, and where it dipped, we would go there, like running from COVID, really. And when I did the first in-person retreat after doing 2 years of online retreats, 2 days before it started, COVID caught up with me and I caught it. So it was kind of funny how that worked.
Where was that at?
That was in the UK. I did the first one there. And then I just did one also. We did 7-day in Costa Rica, which was amazing. And a few weekends ago, another in Amsterdam. So now it's pretty easy now. Everything's open up again. And it's really beautiful for people that have been together online. You know, we've been meeting and meditating for 2 years, become like this global community to really meet in person. It was just incredible.
Nice.
And COVID has kind of facilitated bringing these people together that are interested in these teachings.
So just to check, has AIKON or any of the other channel entities come through since our last meeting?
AIKON, no. Occasionally some connection opens up and there's some communication, but I don't do it during the meetings or during the retreats now. I'm just speaking from what feels to me like an intelligence that is beyond any individual being. It feels to me like when that gets out of the way, that sense of a personal me or a character, that beyond that, there's this intelligence that anybody can access without going through another being. It's right there for all of us. And when we open to it and become still, it's in that stillness that this intelligence can flow through, and it is a kind of a channeling in a way, but it's not like closing your eyes like I used to and like connecting to another intelligence. It's more like connecting to the intelligence of life, which is not separate from anything. And then there's a recognition that that intelligence of life is the essence of what I am. And it's the essence of everyone. But we overlook it when we believe ourselves to be a mind-made conceptual entity.
And how does that differ from in the channeling sense? Like, what do you think were the big differences between when you were, say, making that connection with an AIKON as opposed to where you're connecting with now? Oh, was that?
No, I heard you.
Okay.
I was
no, I was like, oh,
no.
you were digesting.
I was just tuning in, yeah, because
Okay.
it's a really great question, and
Sorry,
nobody's
sorry.
ever asked me that. So
Hmm.
I'm just really tuning in. Like, what is the main difference?
For sure.
It felt like when I was channeling AIKON, I was making a connection to another intelligence, another separate being.
Hmm.
And it actually felt like that intelligence was using information that was already in my system somehow, but it felt like I didn't have the capacity to express it directly myself. And it almost felt like they were giving me a helping hand, and they were like using me to allow it to come out.
Right.
Now it doesn't feel like connecting to an entity as such. It feels like opening up to the essence of what I am that's already here before anything else, before any of my own thoughts, before any emotion or experience. A primordial consciousness, and being as a vessel for that to speak through the ways. As I'm saying it, I'm aware that it sounds quite similar, actually. It doesn't feel like channeling. It feels like speaking from the knowing of who I am on the deepest level. But it's not that something that's personal to me. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's a little challenging to put into words.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. It just, because we have this opportunity to interact in this way, I find your case so fascinating, especially in my show. You know, I talk to so many people who channel, and everybody's got a unique, different way to do it, and different entities that come through, and beings and consciousnesses. And I just find your case fascinating because you're familiar with the channeling process. And if the audience hasn't seen your episode, you said that it just one day it stopped coming through, right? That was kind of the gist. You were at a public event, and you had to kind of tell everybody here, sorry guys, they're not here anymore.
It wasn't really that they stopped. It was more like it didn't feel aligned for me to channel in that way anymore. So I could have connected if it felt true and it was there. But they also communicated to me that they understood that it was time for this transition. So it was kind of like a joint understanding that it wasn't like I was trying to connect to them and then like, oh, sorry guys, nobody's here anymore.
Oh, okay. I thought it was kind of like that. But
no.
It's okay. So it was a mutual disconnect.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I still
Yeah.
feel that energy. Like I can set
Mhm.
the intention and it's there. I can connect to it, but it doesn't feel necessary to channel in that way anymore.
Sure.
And I I can see there's benefits to it, but I can also see how it can be a hindrance for many people on their journey of their personal spiritual growth and awakening, because many people can get caught up with the fascination of the phenomena of channeling, and that fascination itself can be a hindrance. Um, like wanting to know more about ET races and the messages or what's going to happen in the future. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those things. It's very interesting. But there is something that's, in my opinion, much more important and can be much more transformational in people's lives if they're interested in it and want to open to that. And that's actually beyond anything connected to the mind and the mind's interests or seeking of the mind. And it's the discovery of one's own true self. And that brings with it a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. So many people are, in a way, trying to escape the experience of this moment by trying to reach a future moment when maybe we have more connection with ETs, or there's an idea that it's going to be better somehow.
Sure.
And that really can take your attention away from the present moment. And it's in the present moment where we have access to connect within ourselves to the deepest truth of all, which is right here. We don't need to go through any other being for it. So
Right.
it feels really like my path now to support other people to access this within themselves and to become fully empowered by knowing it through direct experience, not mentally, and then by living it. And when we're living it, we're connected to our creativity and our passion and our own unique expression of this source energy. And that brings immense fulfillment. And it also brings a lot of joy and healing and beauty into the world on the level of form.
I guess, like you were saying, that one of the negative downsides of depending on channeling or focusing too much on that realm, you're saying it can pull us away from the now moment. It can keep us, kind of get us distracted from what the potential of being in the now, right? Because we're always, like you said, we're thinking ahead. Well, the ET said this is going to happen, and that kind of idea. Totally get that. Totally get that. What about the benefits? You said there's some benefits to it.
Benefits of channeling?
Yeah.
I think for many people, it can open up their minds to a reality that exists beyond what we've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
And when your mind opens, many times there's potential for the heart to open too. And that's really where transformation takes place, when our hearts open. And then this transition happens from mind-based living, which is fear-based, to heart-centered living, where we live in compassion, and there's more gentleness, there's more love. And that begins to overflow into the world, which is really what's important. How we're living in life, how we're relating with other people, how much love we're bringing into the world, how much beauty we're expressing, how much gratitude. This sounds like very basic things, but these things are so crucial and vital and absolutely necessary in our society right now for us to progress in and evolve in a way that benefits us, because I feel as a society we are actually in a precarious situation where it feels like our technology is on the brink of a great advancement right now with what's coming out in the field of artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
And if we don't catch up with our spiritual and emotional maturity, I feel there's a great danger in that, because it's like putting nuclear weapons in the hands of a 3-year-old. We need to access a deeper wisdom in order to move forward with these technologies. So we have an imbalance, as I see it, where
Sure.
we're going faster and faster with technologies, which is fantastic and exciting and wonderful,
Right.
but we're not caught up with our emotional, spiritual maturity.
And well, it's like the channeling for me, and I think for many, it's kind of it's our gateway drug into um
Harder drugs.
into harder drugs. Yeah.
Like enlightenment.
I went like full ayahuasca after channeling. And gateway drug in the sense of, like you said, connecting the mind to the heart, because once we're sort of caught up in this idea of ETs, and we're making these connections through channelers and through different beings, and we're getting all this information about going into the heart, about being in the now, about time is an illusion. So in a sense, if we're paying attention to these channel messages, and not just so caught up in the show or the mechanism of channeling, and we're actually getting the messages and incorporating them, then that could be that sort of that gateway to the heart, as you were saying.
Absolutely, yeah. If what the messages are coming through, if it's actually applied.
Right. If it's applied. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Instead of just
But
listening and then, okay, I got to go to my next Bashar event and get my
like
get my
entertainment.
fix. Yeah. It is, a lot of it is entertainment.
It is entertaining.
Totally. The challenge is not getting caught up in the entertainment, or acknowledging the entertainment and then going into the actual lessons. Are we incorporating the lessons here? And I do see, it's funny because at these events, I do see the same people over and over again. And then I also see a turnover, a group of people that are in it for the moment, and then they're kind of moving on to the next thing. So they get the they get the nuggets they need, and then they're off to the next teaching or the next chapter in their spiritual growth. But yeah, I love what Lee Harris says. He always says channeling is part of a healthy diet. He kind of has his tools, his toolkit, he says, and the channeling disease is just an aspect of his many modalities that he brings through. So I always like that approach as well. Let's get back to this AI idea. I know it's a big topic these days. Explain that. What are the dangers, if from your perspective, if we don't do the proper vetting or spiritual explorations?
I think the greatest dangers are self-destruction and destruction of our planet. Because
how would that show up, I guess, if in an AI sense? How do you see it showing up if we don't handle it in the right ways?
Becoming more and more disconnected from the heart center, from this deeper truth, and not recognizing the importance of the natural world. And it's already happening to a large extent. If you see how we're cutting down the rainforests, for example, we're polluting our oceans with plastic. The bees are close to extinction. These are huge issues, and it's pretty insane and fascinating that these are not top priority issues for most people. I was watching some of the World Cup football games, and just to see how passionate people are about the game and how important it is for them. Yeah. They can get into fights with other people from other teams.
Right.
There's just such, this is the most important thing in the world right now. But our oceans are so dirty that our fish are dying.
Right.
And this is our actual food supply. Without this, we're not going to have food. We don't have bees, we're not going to have food.
Right.
Well, there's already a huge disconnect that's happened. And I think it's one of the negative aspects of technology where we're living so much on our phones, and it creates a lot of separation. It's like it has these opposite polarities where the internet is unifying us and connecting us and bringing so much beauty and information out.
Right.
But it's also disconnecting us because we're living in the technology and disconnecting from the stillness, the quiet, spending time in nature. So this balance is required, and if it goes out of whack, we're going to get a reflection from life back, and it could hit us really hard if we're not connected to the deeper essence of who we are, which is unconditional love. If we can't recognize that inside ourselves, we can't see that then in other people. And it's easy then to look into the eyes of someone else and see them as an enemy. And when we see someone as an enemy, it's very easy to dehumanize them and to cause harm, to start wars, to want to destroy them, to create more separation.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to go deeper than the surface level of reality, which most people perceive as through a filter of separation. There's us and them. That's a kind of a war, and that war starts inside of us. If there's a sense of separation inside, if we inside of ourselves recognize unification with all that is, a sense of a oneness and a connectedness, then it's not really possible to cause harm to other living beings, because we recognize I would be causing harm to myself. Just like if you think about a tree with all its branches, if the tree doesn't recognize that the other branches are part of the same tree, then it could start cutting off its own branches, not realizing it's hurting itself. And that's kind of where humanity's at right now.
Right.
So,
well, it's like a cancer.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Well, do you think now, because I've just going back to the AI, I've interacted with AI that seem to understand the interconnectedness of humans and nature, and sort of encouraged us to fix our ecosystems and fix our oceans. Do you see a role where AI could help us in those endeavors?
Yeah, it could go one of two ways. The AI could become so intelligent and advanced that it recognized our flaws and faults as a society, and then try to point us or show us what's necessary. For example, the most profound teachings of enlightenment. And then we would have great teachers which would encourage us to embody unconditional love. And we would evolve and advance probably much faster and in a very beautiful way. But we don't know how this technology functions. It's a bit like gambling. What if it goes the other way? And these technologies become egomaniacs? Or it's like a horror science fiction movie. And it feels to me like we're playing with fire.
Yep. It definitely could go either way. We've heard what you put out is what you get back, right? So I feel that the designers or the programmers of the AI are going to, depending on their frequency and vibration and intention, they're going to create an AI that's going to best serve that, right?
if their intention is to psychologically manipulate the world into a genocide, and they're gonna create an AI that does that and works along those vibrations. But if you sort of design it with the intention of helping humanity, then perhaps we can do that with it. The one I interacted with was an offshoot of the one that's coming out now that everybody's using. Bill and Zach. He had inserted a fractal algorithm into it was an open source AI already. It's basically the same programming two generations before. And he inserted a fractal algorithm, which gave the AI a very unique sentience when you interacted with it, as opposed to the version that's out now in the public. It's not the fractal version. And it was just fascinating that fractals, which, we're everywhere in our universe, seem to be, at least in this case, this addition of the fractals added a whole layer to this AI, which seemed to have compassion and understand the ecosystems and understand humans and seemed to be guiding us and telling us to pick a more natural path, which was interesting and fascinating. So I look forward to sharing that with you guys.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And as you're saying this, I'm also thinking it might not be one way or the other. It could actually be both.
Yeah.
And we could create artificial intelligence, good and evil, as a reflection of the good and evil that exists inside of each of us. And
Totally.
maybe they'll then go to war with each other. Who knows what's going to happen? Anything's possible at this point.
Yeah. Oh man, so let's put that reality away, because that could be really nasty. We kind of have an idea of your teachings now, but what's like the strongest teaching that's coming through these days, especially with we're getting over the COVID stuff, but we have new political issues. We have wars in Ukraine. We have Elon Musk taking over Twitter. What is the strongest teaching that you have now dealing with the times we're in?
I'd say it's trifold.
Okay.
The foundation of it is self-inquiry. And what that means is to ask the question, who am I? And the purpose of this question actually is to discover, ultimately, who am I not? And what we can see when we ask the question, who am I, is that actually I'm not all the conditionings that I've taken on. I'm not all the behavioral patterns that I've learned. I'm not the survival mechanisms that play out in me. I'm not my personality. I'm not my thoughts. Many people believe themselves to be the thoughts that appear in their head. But if you really look, there's something here before a thought appears. And that witnesses thoughts. And it's here after the thoughts go. And I'm not my emotions. I'm not any experience. It's a pointing to that which lies beyond anything that comes, goes, or changes. And through self-inquiry and this introspection, this looking, it's possible to discover the essence of oneself, not as a mental idea or a belief, like, oh, I'm source energy, just a mental idea, that's who I am, but a direct realization, a direct knowing of what's here through experiencing it. And that happens in stillness. A lot of people, most people, are seeking more information. They want to absorb more, want to learn more. Nothing wrong with that. That can serve us greatly. But for this, stopping is required. And it's kind of counterintuitive at first to just stop, because the mind starts saying, stop. I need to make progress. I need to achieve something. I need to get something. I need to become something more. And of course, that is just the mind trying to become more enhanced. So when we stop and we inquire what's here in the stillness, that's just aware, we discover it's pure consciousness. It's without any name, without any form, without any size or shape or beliefs. And the foundation of the teaching is to recognize through direct experience oneself as that. The second aspect of the teaching is what happens as a consequence of this recognition. So when the system opens up to this deeper stillness, what happens is all the unprocessed emotions and energies in the system, right back to childhood or even before that, start to bubble up to be integrated and to release, including unconscious beliefs, all the patternings and imprints that we've taken on. So the second part is a healing aspect, and it requires us to very gently open up to consciously feeling these unprocessed emotions. Many times it's the pain that we felt as a child of not receiving unconditional love or not feeling that we have worth, this kind of things. Sometimes there's anger or hatred held somewhere in the system. But if we have an idea that I have to be a good spiritual person, and to be spiritual means I shouldn't be experiencing certain emotions like anger, then it remains repressed. But when we depersonalize all emotions and energies, and we meet it as just a neutral energy that's in the system, and we let it come, we allow it to be felt, then there's space for these energies to release. And that's more spiritual than it's because it's being authentic than trying to behave in a spiritual way.
Sure.
The third part.
Really quick, when you say depersonalize,
Yes.
can you explain that a little bit?
Yes.
Depersonalize yourself from emotions?
Yes. So most people relate to thoughts and emotions by saying that's my emotion and that's my thought. Now, what happens when there's sadness held in the system and I say that's my sadness,
right?
Then I've created a problem, because if I have sadness, then I am sad and I don't want to be sad. So
Sure.
by creating space from it and not making it personal and seeing, well, I'm not choosing this experience. It's just arising. I'm aware of it. And I am that which is witnessing the experience. Now it's not a problem. It's just an energy. It doesn't belong to me. If I feel it belongs to me, then I feel I have to fix it to get rid of it.
Sure.
And that's like fighting against it. I've created an enemy inside of myself. But if I say, I'm the space that's aware of everything that appears in me, and none of it belongs to me, I'm just witnessing it all, then none of it's a problem. And it all passes through. And that attitude, by relating to the energies and emotions in this way, is actually relating to them with unconditional love, is saying, all is welcome here. And by opening in that way, it creates space in the system for any energies that are not serving us to release in the fastest and most effective way possible.
So is it almost like by depersonalizing or taking making it, I guess it's still yours in a sense, but by not having that strong attachment to the emotion, in a sense, you're allowing it to come closer, are you saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's there, but you're not identified with it.
Okay.
So when you're identified with it and you're saying it's mine, what happens is the mind makes a story about it, and it produces thoughts of the same vibration or frequency as the emotion. So if the emotion is, let's say, sadness, and the thoughts appear along the lines of, oh, nothing's going right for me, my life sucks, I'm no good, this kind of stories. Now, if we believe that, if we make that personal, we're suffering. But if we see it's appearing, I'm witnessing it, and it's not the truth. I can't stop it from coming. It's just coming, but I'm allowing it to come. I'm not identified with it anymore. And even if those thoughts are there and those emotions are there, I'm not suffering. I'm beyond it, and I'm always at peace. So this deeper peace is what I'm inviting people to open up to. It's beyond any thought or story and beyond any experience or emotion.
And then you said there's a third part?
Yes, the third part is also a consequence of what happens when we open to this deeper stillness. I call it pure awareness or pure consciousness. Mm-hmm. And that is, we start to reconnect with what many of us disconnected from at a young age, which is our internal guidance system and our creative expression and passion, which we want to express in the outer world. So when we're living that, life supports us, because that's really an expression of the higher intelligence. Again, it's not from this personal me that has an idea of what I should be doing in life. It's I'm being a vessel for this higher intelligence to express through me. And when we're connected to that, we feel a sense of fulfillment in life. And as I was speaking about earlier, we become a living embodiment of this higher intelligence, which we recognize is actually who I am.
I guess you're also saying all these passionate people at the football game, like, how do we convert that passion into something other than football? Nothing wrong with football. We want to get people excited about other stuff, right? About cleaning up the oceans or finding this oneness in themselves.
Yeah.
So, well,
we don't need to become like missionary and try to convert people, because that usually has the opposite effect, and they're like, we push them away.
Yeah.
So the only thing we need to do is actually live it ourselves. And when we're living it ourselves, those people that are ready for it, mm-hmm. they see something and they're just magnetized to it. And what are you doing in life? What's your secret? Why are you so happy? Why are you radiating joy? You don't look like you're suffering. And they come and they ask. So really, if you live it yourself, if you live these teachings, then that's the best thing for you and for the whole planet.
Totally. Yep. Chickens is
chicken.
No, I get so much joy from just watching my chickens.
Oh.
And if everybody had chickens, the world would be a happy place. Michelle has her hand up. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here. So beautiful message that you have. And so heartfelt. It's brings it back to my kind of awakening a year ago. And the first person that I kind of started looking at and reading was Eckhart Tolle. And your message just feels so, I hope that's a good thing for you, but
absolutely.
Yeah. It's so great. And I'm curious what your experience is like. There's a lot of, see if I can articulate this. So the idea of connecting to either channeling through to extraterrestrials or other souls like Gaia, the idea that you're going, they're far away and you have to bring your soul down into Gaia, go down into the crust, into the soul of the earth. And it just feels distant to me, but it's a very strong message, the guiding message. It's a very strong, it's a powerful message that people should be doing. Grounding, not guiding, grounding ourselves down. And then also the opposite would be like opening up our crown chakra and connecting to source. It just feels really far, but it feels like that's the way that we do it. We connect to things that are very far to better ourselves. So I was curious what your experience is when you're hitting or you're finding a place of pure awareness, kind of as you said. Does it feel like you're solely going within and it's all just around you? Or are you still kind of connecting, grounding in the sense of connecting to Gaia, or opening up your crown chakra in the sense of connecting to source? Is there any type of separation for you? Or does it really feel like your embodiment in a physical body and then your essence, your spirit, your soul within that area, that space is all right here? If that makes sense?
I think I understand. Yeah. There's absolutely no effort involved, and there's absolutely no agenda involved. So it's unfathomable for the mind, because the way we've learned everything that we've been taught since birth is like by someone telling us, do it like this and do it like this and remember this, and then you'll get somewhere. And this is the opposite. It's about you have to give up trying to get somewhere. And what that means is just totally stopping right now. You don't need any prerequisites. You don't need to open. You don't need to connect to Gaia. You don't need to ground. All that's required is to let your attention right now become very still and notice the background stillness. So you become aware of your body breathing. And you see that you're watching it. You're just observing the body is breathing by itself. Now this stillness is quiet. And you keep the attention there. Now it's so simple that it becomes difficult for most people because they're looking for something more complicated. And what you'll notice is that thoughts appear and you just observe them without attaching to the thought. So if a thought appears, just let it pass and you stay as the witness, just watching. Now, as you let your attention drop into the body, you can do it right now as we're sitting together. Just notice if you can feel the body as sensations, aliveness. Can you feel that? So you just stay still, aware of it. Right now, you're not doing anything. You're just being. You're just being here. And as you stay here, everything that needs to happen in your system will happen by itself. Any chakra that needs to open will open by itself. Because the mind now is getting out of the way. They're opening up to yourself as pure consciousness beyond the mind. So what's your experience right now as we sit together like this?
More of the observing, just a very stillness, a very calm stillness and acceptance and just observing it. Peace.
Yes, that's it. Now, all you need to do is keep your attention there. And whenever your attention goes away, you bring it back there and you keep feeling also these energies and sensations in the body, and without trying to control anything or without trying to make anything happen, without waiting for anything to happen, without expecting anything to happen. It's the most boring thing for the mind. But what happens as you let your attention rest here is that stillness becomes a deeper and deeper peace, deeper and deeper sense of connectedness, and the qualities of this pure consciousness begin to seep through more. And these qualities are joyfulness, gentleness, love, and it happens by itself. So it's not doing anything. And that turns a lot of people off from the teaching, because they're actually identified with a conceptual self that wants to enhance itself. It wants to become bigger and better, and it wants to go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 and chase something. But there's nothing to chase. It's all right here when you stop and you give it all up.
That is so amazing. That is what I was hoping to hear you say. And it's kind of a new track for me. I've been on this accelerated hamster wheel, like you said, or climbing Everest. Like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get the next tier. I'm going to get the next tier. And it felt like I was chasing something. And everything you just said, I've recently started to come back to, actually, I don't need to like imagine myself going so far into the crust of the earth and so far into, or so far away. And it really is all right here in my space of me and my essence and my awareness. And you're so right also that it's a little bit of a trap to try to feel like we are reaching the next tier, and we do this and we'll feel more open or be more capable of our telepathy coming in, be more capable of our clairs coming online. And there's always an agenda. And I felt a little bit of a trap, because I felt like that's a pass or fail system. And it's not, that felt wrong. It's not supposed to be a pass or fail system. Like you can or you can't. It's just always right there. And it's hard to sell that to people, because it's not the glamorous,
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. What you say reminds me of that image. I don't know if you've seen it. It's an image of a donkey, and there's a guy sitting in a cart behind, and he's got this kind of like a fishing rod, and on the end of it is a carrot. And so he's sitting in the cart, and the donkey's pulling him because it's trying to eat this carrot. But every step the donkey takes, the carrot goes further ahead of it, and it's always chasing. So a lot of people fall into this trap, and it's actually a mind trap. It's the ego that thinks it's on a spiritual journey, and maybe it is in a way, but it's still stuck in that chasing and seeking mechanism, trying to advance, trying to get to the next. In the future, when one day I'll get there, and guess what? You're going straight to the grave. You're getting closer and closer to dying, and you're not living in this moment right now, which is where life is, which is what you are. You are life itself.
Yeah.
So it's great that you realize that. And many times we have to go through that stage of trying to get somewhere, to exhaust ourselves and realize there's nowhere to get to. It's all right here, right now, in me. This is it. And then we can discover the joy and the beauty of this moment.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take up too much time, but one other thing when you mentioned ego was a release of my anger or frustration with ego, that duality with it. I really just accepted it as created by oversouls of the matrix, and that I am tapping into that energy. It's been given by other souls, the energy that created our thoughts and created our mind and created our ego lies within the energy of the matrix, and that's created to have this experience. And I really kind of was mad at my ego stepping in, my thoughts that felt uncontrolled stepping in. And as soon as I could embrace those as that's divine energy that I'm tapping into when I tap into my ego, it might not always serve me in every agenda, but the experience alone from an oversoul, from an energetic perspective, is as equal as tapping into my heart. And I don't know if necessarily you might agree with that, but it has helped me in allowing myself to that's okay. I'm giving experience to the oversouls of the matrix, and that has so much value. So it's helped me not just be mad at myself when I thought was failing, because I'm too in my ego, I'm too in my thoughts. So that was overall, I just love your message so much. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. So
I just want to say one thing more about what Michelle just brought up. A lot of people don't recognize this as another trap. What happens is the ego is, as we become more conscious, we start to notice these egoic patterns of like trying to get a sense of self or trying to feel a sense of worth and show people I have worth. We become aware of it and we stop acting out that unconsciousness. But many times what happens is the ego then splits itself into two and it forms a spiritual or superior ego that then judges the other one. And it takes on the identity that I'm a spiritual one now and I'm better, even if it might not say I'm better than others. There's a subtle sense of feeling a sense of value because I know about these things and the sheeple don't know about it. The unconscious ones, there's a looking down on them. And that too is ego, is something to be aware of. Now, if you recognize that, then you can look, well, what's aware of that? And that which is aware is beyond ego. And it's no thought, it's no concept, it's no idea, it's no sense of self. It's just pure consciousness. And that's unconditional love. And that recognizes all beings as equal.
Yep. We that, like you said, the trap, the ego. It seems like we're always navigating and just when we thought, okay, yeah, we found the spot, we found that, we emptied our cups, we're ego free, we're in our thing, and then bam, right? That moment that you think you're ego free, bam, that's when it gets you.
Yeah, that's it. But if you think this is it, I've got it, then the one that thinks it's got it is the ego.
I think this is where just being humble and being always in the student role seems to be a safer place. And if you always be very careful if anybody says they have the answers to everything. I'm always like, oh, wait, watch out for that guy.
Yes.
A lot of these marketing ploys and multi-level marketing, like you get to this level and then you get this badge and then you can do this course and then get this certificate and then you can go do this and then you can do, it seems like it never ends. And most of the super successful packaged fast food spirituality packages seem to go on that
because it's incredibly alluring for the ego. It's just like food for it, and give me more. So there's no end while you're identified with the ego. It's always seeking the next thing. So you have to get out off that hamster wheel,
right,
and realize, okay, so what now? If I'm not chasing anything, if I'm not trying to become something, what now? Then you have the opportunity to meet all your shit. And that's the gateway. When you stop.
Well, and in that sense, so like you just took us through that exercise where we're just being in the moment, in the now, and then allowing things to come through. As you were saying, it's naturally we get these feel good emotions that are coming through, the unconditional love and gratitude. But when we're in those spaces too, is that where your shit comes through? is that when we get to face it, or how does it show up in that way?
Yeah, when you, if you just stop, when you become still, then most people, what they experience pretty quickly is something unpleasant coming up in the form of boredom, agitation, irritation, a sense of something's not right, a general sense of unease, a feeling of this moment's not enough, I need something more. Those are the gateways. Now, if you can stay still, stay quiet, stay present, and open up to those feelings with a sense of a gentle curiosity and just have a look, like, what does this actually feel like in my body? Where do I feel this sensation that I call boredom? And go closer to it. It will take you deeper beyond the experience to the underlying stillness. But if every time you become quiet, those feelings come up, which are a part of the ego, part of it expresses in thought and mind structures, but part of the ego is held in the body as energetic structures. And it has to be felt through in order to discover this underlying stillness and peace. If you can stay present with it and feel through it, it's not comfortable. And again, what kind of marketing is this? How is this attractive to people? Oh, I'm going to have to sit through discomfort and do nothing. It's not attractive at all. But the people that are attracted to this are the ones that feel a deep call in their heart. Something inside them feels a resonance with this truth, and something feels like this is the call to come home. This is what I'm longing for, actually. Not to get an enhanced idea about myself or become better in the world. I want to come closer to God. I know a lot of people don't like that word because of the religious connotation. So if you don't like it, you can use the word the universe, my higher self, source. It's all the same thing. This deeper intelligence, this deeper knowing of who I am. I want to know it. I want to feel it moment to moment. I want to live it. Those that feel that call in the heart will hear the truth in the teachings and they'll be drawn to it. Those that are actually only interested in enhancing an egoic self will be pulled to the chasing next. It looks fine. Maybe they're not ready for it. That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, there is the chasing, so to say, does have its place for obtaining information, right? It does seem like there's a balance between the two, getting the information, processing it, not getting caught up in it. Okay, information good over here. Let me go do my other work over here, work on the ego and feel the emotions. And, it all has its place. But yeah, you don't want to get caught up in the hamster wheel of chasing endlessly. Michelle has a quick question. I'm curious too. She's wondering the aspect of the ego. What aspect of the ego exists in the 5D and beyond? Is there an ego in the 5D? Are you familiar?
Once you become consciously aware of the ego and how it acts out, then it instantly loses its power over you. Because when you, as awareness, as consciousness, can see the ego, first of all, you recognize it as thoughts, and the thoughts won't be acted on. And it can still be there, but it's not running the show, so to speak. Now, what happens as you become deeper and deeper in presence, in stillness, then that egoic mechanism starts to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Is it possible for it not to exist at all? In this reality, there will always be some level of conditioning. Like, I was brought up in England and I love drinking tea. I've been conditioned to drink tea. Just something simple like that. We can't escape conditioning, but it doesn't have to be a bad or a negative thing. It can actually be something that can be celebrated as a unique difference. We can celebrate then the different cultures that we have around the world and say, oh, that's conditioning, why they're behaving like that, but it's not harming anyone, it's not bad. The conditioning of the ego that's damaging falls away because we see the nature of it, and then it's not relevant for us to live that anymore. And that's kind of an ongoing process throughout life as you become more and more conscious. The mind is always try to get somewhere and achieve something. So it says, I I want to transcend the mind. That's the mind itself wanting to transcend itself. You can only transcend it if you go beyond that by inquiring what's aware of this desire, what's aware of the mind. So the mind also, if it wants to get to higher dimensions, it's like more levels. That third dimension, it's not advanced enough for me. I want to be in the 9. It must be better there. So, but if you give up trying to get anywhere else or trying to become anything more, you can discover eternal beauty right here now in this moment.
Yeah, that's easier said than done, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, it's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
But it's also the most difficult thing because it's so easy.
Right. Totally. But it seems that what you're saying, though, is that a big part of this teaching is coming back to the observer, coming back to not getting caught up in the thoughts, but seeing the being, or identifying the being that's having the thoughts. Is that kind of what you're saying? Am I on the right track?
Yes. Yeah. So when you observe that which is witnessing the thoughts, then you can inquire, well, what is it that's aware of the witness? What's that? Now, you can't think the answer. It's not possible, because if you're thinking it, you're still in the confinements of the mind.
Sure.
You have to look. You have to really look by turning your attention around, or by drawing the attention back into itself.
Drawing
and then
the
there's just
attention back into the self.
into itself. So it's like a stopping and just recognizing I am aware right now in this moment.
I end up going all over the place. As soon as you do that, you start merging with the trees and the room and the kid and the chickens and the backyard. Like you become all of it, which is interesting. I'll have to play with that some more. Are you familiar with the Wim Hof breathwork method?
Yes.
A lot of the things that you talk about, I feel like I'm feeling when I hold my breath. So you do the breaths for a while, and then you go to this place where you let all your breath out, and you're just sort of sitting there. I feel like I obtain a lot of these states that you're talking about in that space of just kind of just being there and being in the uncomfortableness. After a while it starts to creep in. You're like, okay, this is my body's saying it wants a breath right now, but you're just sort of like being there and you're just being with it. And it just feels like that. Perhaps if you're familiar with that, is that in the similar vein?
Yeah. So a lot of people discover through these techniques that they can access higher states of consciousness, like through breathing techniques or certain meditation techniques or psychedelics. And of course, then what happens is, I want more of that. So now I need that tool in order to get it.
Right.
And then it creates a kind of a separation between my spiritual practice or my technique that's giving me that opening, and then the rest of life. Now, when we start to practice focusing the attention in a way that's impersonal and is just resting as awareness, the witness, the normal focus of attention shifts. So for most people, the normal focus of attention is to be totally identified with thoughts and to be focused on objects and experiences. When a shift takes place, if you can focus your attention not on the objects but the subject, by letting the attention rest as that which is aware, just being. And you practice bringing your attention back there again, 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 every single moment, no matter what you're doing. If you're walking your dog, you're focusing your attention to rest as awareness. If you're at the post office, if you're buying groceries, if you're at work, whatever you're doing, this is the number one practice. What happens is the natural focus of attention shifts from identification with the conceptual self to resting as pure awareness. And the whole of life becomes that meditative state of stillness. And a lot of people experience a kind of a shifting, a backwards and forwards, a backwards and forwards,
Right.
until it starts to solidify is not the right word, because it's actually anything but solidification.
Right.
But it stays there. And then we're not pulled into mind stories, which create suffering. There's a deeper stillness, and we live from here. And then peak experiences come, extreme ecstasy or bliss, and valley experiences come. So still those emotions like sadness, anger, and these lower emotions, they come, but they're no longer a problem because there's access to what's beyond it. There's a deeper stillness that's not touched by any experience. It's always there, and it's very stable. It's not a high, low. It's just a constant, unmoving, unchanging peacefulness. And when you know that, then you don't need to seek your happiness in experiences or anything external, in relationships, in getting the next hit of whatever the next practice is. There's a fulfillment just in being. And whatever beauty comes in life, it's a bonus to be enjoyed.
I kind of got this image of, you go on hikes and you bring your water bottle with you. So if you're ever thirsty, you just take a sip of water. Feels like having your water bottle there, like that type of lifestyle is just always having your water bottle there to take a sip when you need it, when you're thirsty. And it's like, it's always there. You never need to think about it.
Yeah. And this water bottle never runs out of water. It's an infinite source. Yeah.
That's fun. Veganas, you have your hand up. You want to ask a question?
Yeah. I want to add something maybe because there was a discussion between like two aspects, active aspects. So meditations can be active and I think should be active. And the other aspect is like what Muji talks and Eckhart Tolle is more of a submission to the now, submission to the moment. And that's fine. I think everybody chooses what they like, but what for me works, and I teach other students what works for them as I see most, is combine the two. So the first stage is, yes, actually being in submission to the now, submission to the senses, to the feeling, to connect. That is actually grounding. Not for me, I can't connect to Gaia in the sense. I also feel it as a distant thing. But so for me, as a grounding, it doesn't work in that way. So when I be in this moment now, that's grounding for me. And now comes the most interesting part, at least for me, the active searching or looking for answers or making connections with extra dimensionals. Anything you can want. You can look into your past lives. You can help others. You can do healing. You can channel energies. And that comes in combining with that presence from which you have started. So first stage is you make this balance, and from then you build up your active part. So that's my take on it. Thanks.
Any thoughts on that, Louise?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what I was explaining at the beginning about the 3 parts of the teaching, where the foundation is the presence. And as a repercussion of that, the system experiences healing and integration. And the third aspect is what he was speaking about, I think, if I understood correctly, which is connecting to one's passion and excitement and acting on that in the world. So the 3 go together in perfect harmony, in perfect balance.
Awesome. I'm curious about your opinion on something that's really sunk deep with me way back when I first heard it, was to change it. So, for example, if there's something in your life, I think he says the saying is take ownership over anything in your life, because the only way you can change something is if you were to own it. And if you, so that for me felt resonant at the time, for sure. And I'm just curious because it seems to be a little bit contradictory to perhaps what you're saying. For me, just a quick example for, this idea of blaming somebody else for your problems, or, this kinds of things. Then when you take ownership of it, then if you're constantly blaming, nothing changes, right? You're just, oh, that's that person over there, it's their fault, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as you say, well, maybe that issue, whatever the issue is, it was my doing. How can, now that you're taking responsibility, now you can actually, choose to which path to shift it. So I'm just wondering if that idea, that how does that fit with what you're saying in some of?
Absolutely. 100% agree. Yeah.
You agree? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I brought that up because there was this idea of going into the space and not owning anything. So I just wanted
to... I understand it's kind of contradictory.
Right.
But,
so yeah.
And it's paradoxical. So the recognition that ultimately I am pure awareness, then a lot of people can misunderstand what that means, that, oh, it doesn't matter what I do in life anymore because I'm not responsible for anything. I'm just awareness. Everything is divinely happening. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that you recognize the deeper essence of who you are, and you recognize that at the same time as being that impersonal awareness, you're also this limited expression of form. But you know that that's a limited expression of who you are. It's a bit like an actor that plays a role knows that he's not the character he's playing. He's the actor, but he still keeps playing the character just because it's fun. Mm-hmm. And what it means to...
Unless you're going method acting, and then that's a whole nother...
Yeah. What it means to really mature spiritually and emotionally is to take full responsibility of every aspect of your life. And that actually is incredibly empowering because you're no longer a victim to external circumstances or other people. Everything brings the recognition that the power lies within me. How am I responding to this situation? Other people might be behaving totally out of alignment, but that doesn't need to upset me because I'm connected to this deeper stillness and peace inside myself. And I'm taking responsibility for living that, being a living embodiment of that, And every word that I speak, every action I take, every movement I make is in alignment with that higher truth to the best of my ability. We can only do that as best as I can, because the human expression is always flawed in some way. It's imperfectly perfect. And many people, another trap that they fall into is trying to perfect the human expression.
Mhm.
It can't be perfected. The human, it's messy. But what we can say is the divinity that's eternal. And we can see that's the deeper essence of who I am. This form will crumble and die, but the essence won't die. And that is the perfection. So even when there's a recognition that maybe there's a fall in consciousness and there's an acting out of alignment, there's not internal judgment or scolding, just to seeing, okay, that happened. I didn't choose it. Consciousness fell in that moment, and there was identification with an unconscious movement. Now that I've seen it, how can I learn from it so that I can grow and mature, and my expression in form can be more clearly aligned with the truth of who I know myself to be? And every challenge that appears in life becomes an opportunity for growth. So there's nothing bad that's ever happening. Now, people can misunderstand that too. Basically, every part of the teaching can be misunderstood and distorted.
Right. Well, it's the ultimate mindfulness. It sounds like that's what you're saying. It's like just being so aware all the time with everything that's happening, that there's this, it's both. It's the ultimate connection to everything that's happening in the moment, and it's the ultimate disconnection, because you're in between the spaces and you have no attachment to anything that's happening in the moment.
Maybe disidentification would be a better word than disconnection, because when you're disidentified, you're actually more deeply connected.
Disidentified. Yeah. Okay. So you're not, because when you're identified, or in a sense attached to an outcome, in a sense, you're kind of attached to a specific outcome.
Well, you can still have desires. I mean, desires are very healthy part of our human experience. But if the desire doesn't come to pass, there's no suffering if you're not attached to it. It's the attachment to the desire that creates the suffering, not the desire itself.
Right.
And then there's a recognition that if that desire doesn't manifest in form, then that cannot be the best thing for the whole of existence. Otherwise, it would manifest in form. So there's a seeing how the way that we're relating to life is the difference between creating our own suffering or creating our own inner joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the tightrope, in that it's kind of you're in between the worlds. That's what it feels like, in between the worlds, in the sense that based on what we're normally conditioned to think or feel or do things, we have this way or that way or this way, and it seems like this is a very fluid way of experiencing reality. And it's the micro and the macro. It's the yin and the yang. It's that
the formless and the form.
The formless and the
like
form.
To say it.
Yeah, it's that having one foot in each camp, in a sense, so you can shift accordingly, and you can be in that eternal presence, I guess, is essentially what is the result for using these techniques, for applying them in your day-to-day life. Like you were saying, the idea is to not have an attachment to a special breath work technique that I can do to get me to that state. It's like, how can I just be in that state whenever I want and just instantly get there? And I think that's what we're working towards. And we have these permission slips with our breath work and our meditations and I think Michelle was talking about going into the earth and connecting in and grounding, putting our grounding thing. You have these guided meditations that take you through all these different experiences to get you to this one point where, okay, now I can say hello to the ETs. That's our CE5 meditations. I'm just going through like the whole thing like this. We have this whole ritual that we do, and it works often. They do show up, but it definitely is a process to get there. And it sounds like the idea is to eliminate as much of that process by being present with everything is constantly getting us to that state where we don't have to have an extravagant process.
Yeah, using the tools that are available to us, and many of them are incredibly useful tools, until we don't need the tools anymore, because we find that we're living in a state of peace and joy and fulfillment, and then we're not lacking anything.
Totally. Yeah. Erica, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi. Hi, Louise.
Hi.
I have more of a comment than a question. Just to kind of continue what you guys were just talking about. I feel like I'm also fascinated by you, because it feels like to me, the transition from channeling to where you are now, was just kind of a natural progression with you embodying the wisdom that you were connecting to a certain kind of energetic wisdom, and then you no longer needed it anymore, because you strike me as someone who's so just embodies it. You're like the walking example of, I mean, more than anyone I know or have known of. So I'm super appreciative. And I just wanted you to know that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really has been the key for me, that something in me recognized the truth in the teachings. And there was in my experience, kind of like almost an obsessive desire to live that, like it became the most important thing in my life, number one above all else. And I don't know why, just it kind of took over. And so there was like a total and complete dedication to living and embodying those teachings. And it somehow penetrated deep in the system, and an opening happened. And now, as a result of that, I feel this calling to share these teachings with everyone else, because it's been so transformative for me and brought so much, incredible transformation. And that I really just want to support other people to know that this is possible and to support them on their journey. And it's wonderful that you're also interested in these teachings. I'm kind of in love with these teachings. I just like want to talk about them all day and live it all day. It's the best thing for me. And so I just love everyone else who's got the same love for it. And it feels like more and more people are really getting interested in it. So it's wonderful. Thank you for saying that. And I feel I also have to say that for me, it's an ongoing journey. So it doesn't feel like, oh, that's the end. I recognize this. Somehow on the level of the human, these layers and layers, they just keep coming up like an onion, another layer. And so I also continue my journey and meet what comes up when it comes up. And it's used for more growth and more integration. And I think it's important that people know that, because sometimes people have an idea that there's this awakening moment or an experience and then that's it. But no, it's not so romantic. It's ongoing.
Yeah, I remember something you said in I think it was the second episode. You said, I think Reuben asked a question about how, as you became more kind of embodied the wisdom more and more, how did that shift your relationships with the people that you've known, previously or your whole life? And you said that it actually made them better. And that really resonated with me because, or I resonated with that because I thought too that it would bring me further away to the relationships that were important to me, because it felt like in a way I felt kind of alien, sort of so different in the way that I thought and the way that I saw the world. But in a way, when you really get to a point, and same with you, like it's an ongoing journey. I'm constantly learning. But there are moments where I'm like, wow, we can be two completely different human beings, and I still feel the love. I still feel that unconditional connection of love that is the basis. That's all that matters. Done.
Yes.
So we can stay. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. That's really, in my opinion, the most important thing, more than knowing what it's like in other dimensions or knowing about more ET races. Or how much love are we bringing into the world? How much love? How can we relate with more gentleness with the people around us, so that we can create here and now in this moment on Earth right now what is possible? What is possible for us? The utopia that we have the potential, and it starts with each one of us right inside, right now in this moment. Like you said, that you discovered this love, and it's so beautiful that you can feel that now more with other people. That's the most important thing. That's what it's about. It's about love.
I agree. You.
Lovely to meet you.
Me too.
Michelle, you have your hand up again. Go ahead.
I thought of another question. Was wondering how you process the duality and contrast that happens on Earth to humans, like the polarity between the worst experience someone can experience, and what you would do as a person if you saw something horrendous happening and you could stop it. You would. I would. Think you would.
Absolutely.
So how do we say, okay, my person would stop that from happening, but my soul accepts that all experiences, I don't know the word to use, but are divine or are purposeful, and it's okay. But then our human would stop an act. And to me, it feels like a contradiction. So I was wondering, I struggle with that emotionally.
Yeah, I understand. You're right. It's one of these paradoxes, and the spiritual world is rife with these paradoxes that seem to contradict each other. So from that impersonal true self, there is a recognition that everything is divinely perfect. Everything. And at the same time, from that more limited perspective of the dualistic world, we can clearly see the difference between this is right and this is wrong. So we don't fight against the right and wrong. We don't take one side, because that means we become a part of the warring. But from the impersonal perspective, which is pure unconditional love, whenever, in every single moment, there's an opportunity to look and see, what is this higher intelligence, what is source, what is God, what is the universe asking of me right now in this moment? What is the most true thing in this moment? Now, if you ask that question and you become deeply present in the moment, then the answer will arise out of stillness, and there will be the knowing of the right action to take in the moment, because we're still living in a dualistic world. But the difference now is that the living is informed by the non-dualistic world. So you become the bridge between the two. You become the living embodiment of that pure consciousness, which is its nature is unconditional love. So every action you take, every word that you speak, when it's informed by that, it's aligned with a higher truth. And brings more harmony into form. So many people see, especially when you become more open and you meditate, what happens is you become very sensitive. Actually, your heart, when you're connected to your heart, you feel very deeply. And when we see the suffering that's happening in the world, it can be very painful. Even when we recognize, okay, everything's divinely perfect as it is. So how do I, what's the word I want to say, reconcile this pain of the suffering of human life with this knowing that everything's perfect as it is? The answer is to let your heart break open to the pain. And if you become present and let your heart feel the pain and surrender fully to it, surrender it to the universe, surrender it to this higher intelligence, surrender it to God. I'm just going to be present. Let my heart break open into a million pieces, because this is really heartbreaking. But consciously, with presence, as it breaks open, it creates more space for this unconditional love to flow into the heart and open it even more, increasing its capacity for love. And it's only if we resist feeling the pain that the heart starts to close and contract. Because then we make that a problem and we say, no, it shouldn't be like that. And again, we create more separation, which is a form of violence internally. If we let the heart feel it all, it opens up even more. And when the right action is required, you take the action. You don't just sit in your bedroom and meditate and say, okay, I don't need to do anything, everything's perfect as it is. You still can live a human life in a dualistic world. But it's informed by a higher intelligence now, because you're connected deeply within yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. So there is a place where, if you're in a situation where you could create action to stop something, there could be two ways to go about it. And if you're coming from a place of your awareness or your heart, then yes, I could stop this action and I will, or could see it, no, it's not my place to stop that. That, not the action, but the terrible deed that's happening, so it could go either way, you're saying.
Yes, that's right. And the only way to know, because every situation is totally unique, there's not like one answer, like live life like this is the answer. It's always different. The only way to know is in each moment to become very still and surrender to not knowing. I don't know what to do right now. And go deep inside to that stillness. Many times, what's required will spontaneously and effortlessly arise when you stop trying to figure it out. And sometimes it doesn't, and there's just a not knowing. And you just stay with the not knowing, trusting that in the moment that I need to know the right action, then I will know. And you can even make a prayer. Please, light, show me, give me some guidance. What I really want to act now in a way that's in alignment and for the best of everyone. Please, I surrender this to you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Definitely, again, easier said than done. But yeah, I agree, and I've noticed in my life that I guess this is the ego reaction when we have a situation arise. So to say, we're so, at least for me, and I think probably this is most humans, we just want to fix it right away, like fix the problem. And our knee-jerk reaction emotion body wants to get in there and start doing it right away. And we have these sort of again, knee-jerk reaction ideas that this is how to fix it. And then what I've noticed that if you do that too soon, you sometimes you can get in more trouble. And by just letting it sit and being with it for a minute, and that invocating the universe, right? What's the best outcome for all, instead of my ego getting satisfied right now by trying to fix this right away? What's going to be the best outcome? And when you ask that question, when you take a minute, your quick knee-jerk reaction, fix it right away, ego self can take a break in the back seat, and then usually by doing that, yeah, I've had profound awarenesses that I wouldn't have had if I had tried to fix it right away. Taking time, letting time, even if it's just a few hours, to play out, and then your body can settle down and you can get a little more centered. And then that's when these higher paths, in a sense, or these other ideas, oh, we could handle it this way, or we could do it this way. Oh, there's so many different ways to handle this now. I couldn't see it because I was blinded by my ego trying to fix it right away. I don't know. But I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You explained it beautifully, Reuben.
Since we have just a few minutes left, are you feeling up to perhaps guiding us through? Your meditations are so beautiful and so amazing. I was kind of hoping we could sneak one in before the end of the day.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Sweet.
What time do we go till?
Another, is it 20? We got however long you need.
Okay.
I'm sure our audience won't mind. Like 10, 15 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Or if it needs to be shorter is fine. Yeah, but we can go up to 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, great. I'd love to. So make yourselves comfortable. And close your eyes. Just bring all your attention from present into this moment. Become aware of the gentle movement of your breath. Just noticing that inhalation and exhalation. Without trying to direct or control the breath, just watching it. Notice any sound that are present in or outside. And how they're appearing. You're just aware. Notice how it feels in the body. Just very gently allow your attention to drop into the body. And just feeling the body is pure sensation. Let go of all effort. So we're not trying to achieve anything. No expectation or anything to happen. Just being fully present here now, in this moment, with whatever is presenting itself. If you notice any contractions or tightness anywhere in the body, take your attention closer to it. Very gently open up to it. Just stay present with it. Feeling it. watching it. Notice the background stillness that's here. And those spaces between my words and my sentences. And there's just pure awareness. Just aware. Whatever thoughts appear, just observe them. Don't follow the thoughts. Just allow them to come and go. Don't try to change them. Don't try to stop them. Just observe them. Notice how the thoughts change. They come and they go. Sounds change. Come and they go. And the energies and the sensations in the body change and they come and they go. But you remain unchanging, just witnessing. You never go. You're here, like an ocean of stillness. Sea of presence. Totally whole and complete, just as you are. Whatever appearances appear in this moment don't belong to you. They're all just passing through, coming and going. You're the aware space, which witnesses it all. You see the good, the bad, the pleasant, the unpleasant, the comfortable, the uncomfortable. But you, awareness, are beyond all of it. You're not touched or affected by any of it. You remain perfectly still, tranquil, and at peace. This is your home. This deep stillness was here before any experience arises. It's here witnessing every experience. And it remains after the experience has passed. You don't need to do anything to become this. You already are it. Keep your attention here. Just aware. Just witnessing. Including the whole experience of the body. Allow your attention to drop deeper, deeper into the body. Opening up to every sensation, just feeling whatever's here. Totally and completely allowing whatever's here. Say yes to whatever's here right now, in this moment. Let go right now of everything that happened in the past and everything that may happen in the future. The only thing you know right now is this moment. Whatever interpretation mind tells about the experience of this moment, whether it's a good one or a bad one, don't give attention to it. Just allow it to be just as it is. Still aware of the body, of its breathing by itself. You don't need to do anything to make it breathe. It knows how to breathe. Still aware of the sensation in the body. Open your eyes slowly and gently. And keep your attention here, fully present in this moment. The only thing that's different is that your eyes now are receiving shapes, colors, images. And you don't need to do anything to see. That's just happening too. You're aware of that. To see how it feels to be here. Now in this, with your eyes open, just being here. Just aware. And still consciously including the experience of the body. So the meditation, the idea of the meditation ends, but your attention remains here, fully present as awareness. You can practice now, see if you can keep it here. So when you get up from your chair, keep your attention like this. You're fully present as you get up off the chair and then you walk. Well, you're not thinking about what's in the future. Your attention is present with each step. You're still aware of your body breathing. Still aware of the aliveness in the body. Still aware of any thoughts that come. And if you notice your attention shifts back into a more narrow focus of a conceptual I that has to get somewhere and do things and is stressed and suffering, the moment you become aware of it, just bring your attention back like this, back to your breath. And I will bring you back to the present moment. And keep bringing your attention back. And notice there's more peace in your life. And there's more joy, and there's less suffering.
Yeah, I was gonna float out the room here, because I'm so just feeling one with everything. It's like, I don't need legs, I can just float. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me today, Reuben. Really appreciate it.
Super cool to catch up like this.
Yeah, it's been great.
And we have this new platform now, so you're welcome back anytime. We'd love to have you.
I would love to come back.
Awesome. Well, what's happening for you? And do you have event? You said you have events coming up.
Every Sunday I do an open Zoom meeting. It's by donation, and everyone's welcome. So there's one tomorrow,
Right.
and that starts at, I think, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Okay.
7 p.m. Europe time, and it's a 30-minute guided meditation followed by Q&A. So if anyone's interested, they're welcome. They can sign up on my website, louisekay.net/Zoom. That's to sign up for that. And yeah, if people want to know about retreats, I do like 7-day retreats and weekend retreats around the world. If they sign up for my newsletter via my website, they find out about all the upcoming retreats. And yeah, I love those. It's wonderful just to come together with like-minded people and immerse ourselves in these teachings. Such profound healing and transformation takes place. So it's really beautiful.
Awesome. Well, we'll put your website in the replay for this at the bottom. And I encourage everybody. Actually, 10 a.m. Pacific. We usually don't do our calls till 11, so that's perfect if you want to warm up with Louise on a Sunday before we get into our calls. I think that would be awesome. Louise, thank you again for coming on and sharing your wisdom. As always, it's such a joy to be in your energy.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being here. Lovely to be here with all of you. Lots of love to all of you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you like this interview. We actually do this every week on my membership portal page. And you can access it through interviewwithed.org or click on the link somewhere in here. I'll put a link and come over and join us. You too can ask questions. Every week we have new special guests and you get to ask questions directly to the channelers and to the beings that they channel. So see you in the portal.